All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to our March Inclusion and Wellbeing Forum. I can't believe it's March already. This year is absolutely flying past us. This month, we are very lucky to welcome Judi Wessels, who is the clinical director with one of our partners, Hope Medical Centre. We have been very fortunate to work very closely with Hope for a number of years now, and the provision of support is absolutely outstanding and highly reliable. So if you're working in an educational setting and you're seeking OT, SLT, EdPsych, any of these services, you can come to Hope. They're really, really brilliant practitioners. As always, we will record our session and we will post it on our YouTube channel. I've posted all of the links to our channels and our media in the chat, so have a look in the chat. As always, we welcome practitioners, we welcome professionals, we welcome questions and we welcome comments. However, we ask you to please refrain from mentioning any school or organization individually, and of course, no naming of children or families or anything like that. While we will present on ideas and topics where we welcome experts, always you need to operate within the confines of your own organization or school. So wherever you are working for an organization or a school, you can take our advice for sure, but you've got to make sure that you operate under your own individual policy. So always referring back to the policy in your setting and starting there first. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Judi. If anyone has any questions, I'll be monitoring the chat. You can type them in the chat and we can post them here for Judi. Thank you so much, Judi, and I'll hand over to you.
Thank you so much. It's always a privilege to speak with people from the educational system. I have a lot of respect for teachers, other professionals working with children, because it can be challenging. So we're going to look a little bit at school readiness and special educational needs of children today. And as I prepared this presentation, I was thinking, sure, there's actually nothing I can tell you about this, because coming from a SENCO environment, you are experts yourself. How do I move this? Sorry, I have to say we usually use different platforms to present, so I need to figure out a few things today. Suddenly not sure how to go to the next slide. Can you still see my presentation?
Yeah, we can.
Perfect. Sorry, can we go back to the full screen? I would like to invite anybody who would like to ask questions to stop me if needed, or are we going to keep the questions for the end?
No, I can keep a track on the chat, and if there are questions that are pertinent, I can deliver them to you.
Okay. So, you know what, I always like this picture. I thought, yes, we're going to talk about school readiness and children with special needs. But I always like to look at this picture because it tells so much about how we as professionals are looking at the same child, but we're coming from different perspectives. And all our perspectives are valid, but it depends a lot on the child and the corner at which we look from at this child to see what suits the child and what the child actually needs. So I'm going to focus a little bit on that today. And we do have wheels available. If you want more information on that, you can contact us. But we've got wheels available telling a little bit or giving guidance with regards to school readiness and all the areas that include what are the ingredients of school readiness, and also similar a developmental wheel specifically for children with special needs. So if anybody is interested, you can contact us at Hope, info@Hope AMC for more information. Okay, I think this slide may not be that clear in terms of the subtitles, so we can even look just at the main titles. But I like to use this.
Just a moment, Judi, sorry to interrupt. The slide that we can see still says school readiness.
Okay, let's start again. So I think the big thing was just for me to go back to these perspectives. We're all looking at the same thing. We're looking at the child in need, but we come from different corners. So I almost want to say it was more important for me today to open up the perspectives, maybe more from a therapy point of view. And how we work together, and that it's very dependent, like, for each case on the child itself. So we've recently invested in some wheels. It's just to show you a little bit, the central part of the wheel moves, and then if it's a child with special needs, there are notes on what to look at the age of 2 years, what specific things you need to look at, physical needs, mental needs. But like I said, you are all experts in this, so I'm not going to go into too much detail there. This is the format I go by. Unfortunately, I think you're not going to be able to see the fine writing, but this is what drives us as therapists, and of course we dissect development. That's probably, when we work with children, our biggest focus. And I think the other important thing here is, where do we come from? We come from the Western medical perspective and from a neurological perspective. So all the therapies, especially what we have available here at Hope, the physiotherapy, the occupational therapy, the speech language feeding therapy, we come from the perspective of the medical framework, and from the neurological point of view of development. So if we look at this pyramid of development, we then definitely come from a bottom-up approach, where education and behavior and higher executive functions are at the top, which is often where the education behavioral approaches are coming from. So again, it's very complementary to one another. We all know that development is a journey. We all thought 40 years ago, by the age of 8 or 16 or 21, this development stops. We know now that it never stops. However, we also know the significant development that's taking place in the early years. For me, development is dramatic, it's relentless, it doesn't wait, and it's, of course, very fast-paced. So therapy used to look at milestones and development in a very linear way, to see where's the child now, what's the next developmental milestone we need to look at. But there has been very big shifts over the years. Again, 30 years ago, we spoke about normal development, abnormal development. Then it all changed into typical development and atypical or diverse development. Now, we are focused on the systems theory, which is saying we look at child development. Each child is unique, and we have to look at what this child needs, where, of course, you guys are also coming in. So we've moved away from the concept of one size fits all. And of course, the teamwork here is extremely important. And from a therapy perspective, early intervention. And I think maybe we also look differently at early intervention. We come from the approach, we don't wait and see. Even if we see the slightest delay in any area of development, we say, let's do a proper assessment so that we can also have a baseline of where this child is. And just to give you an example, if a baby between the age of 9 to 10 months has still significant feeding disturbances, significant sleeping disturbances with no established routine, even if it's still flexible, there's just no routine, then already we know that baby has sensory processing challenges. So we don't wait. And of course, as therapists, we are then focused on the population that are not in the mainstream. And if I can still allow the term of being neurodiverse. This is another, I need to mention this to you. This is like our skeleton, our backbone is the World Health Organization's classification, international classification of function and disability, where we are saying we are not purely a medical, we're not looking at any child with other needs purely in a medical way. We are definitely looking at the body functions of the child. We're definitely looking at the health condition, like if there's diabetes in childhood or an illness or a disorder or a disease, we definitely look at that. But we're not only looking at that, we also look at what can the child do in terms of activities of daily life, of mobility, of cognition, communication, and then how does the child use this in a school environment? And we look at the environmental factors and the personal factors as well. So why did we go from a linear approach to a systems approach? Because in essence, we are also making our lives a bit more difficult and complex. However, the key word here, when we talk about complex, we talk about meaning. What is meaningful for this child, this family, this difficulty the child has? And when we work with the systems theory, we're not only looking at where are the weak links, we are also looking at where are the strong areas, because we make use of that. But the reason then is meaning. And if you ask me why is meaning so important, meaning is important because of neuroplasticity. Which for us is the drive for in everything. So again, we are at the bottom area of that pyramid. I always consider the therapists to be the basement workers. We're down in the basement. And that's where the neuroplasticity is taking place if it has meaning to the child. So meaning is really very important to us. There are also two types of neuroplasticity. And what is neuroplasticity? Of course, it's the brain's ability to change and to adapt. And there's structural plasticity. Literally, I'm sure you've seen images of those axons and neurons where they connect in the nervous system, and the job is to grow more of those connections, and that only happens through experience and memory. And the way you engage the child is to attach meaning to the child. And then, of course, neuroplasticity also has to do with areas in the brain that may have been exposed to an insult or is not well developed, and we try and build new pathways. Okay, this is another important perspective we have as therapists, and we look at the nervous system as like a big highway where traffic is going up and down between the brain and the body. And it's important to understand that 80% of the traffic going up and down between the brain and the body, 80% of that information is coming from the body upwards. Only 20% of that information is coming from the brain down to the body. So again, if you think about that pyramid, if the body and the bodily functions and the neurological system of reading information is very disorganized, it's extremely hard for this traffic to move slowly and smoothly without accidents, not slowly. It actually moves very fast if the traffic is well organized. So the traffic is an important thing. And then another thing that's quite important is what is the platform that information is moving through in the brain. And there we refer to basically three main platforms, or you can think of it as train stations from where the information is going onto the highway. So the one platform is in the primitive area of the brain where the spinal cord and the brain is connecting. And that's where your autonomic nervous system lies. That develops at 37 weeks gestation. So that system is already activated before the baby is born. If the baby is born premature, we know that system isn't very well organized. So we expect that the traffic may get stuck along the way. Then the next platform is in the area of the midbrain, which is like a relay station. So if you think of the traffic coming in, going up, traffic going down, that's where the decision is made. Where is this traffic going? Whether it's feedback to the muscles or to move or perform a task, or whether it's going up to the brain to interpret the tasks. So that area in the midbrain is only fully developed at the age of 25. And also, I want to say the top area, where optimal and mature decision making is taking place. That's also only developed fully at 25. Those platforms are quite important because it's driven by this one question every child has on his mind, subconsciously, not consciously. The nervous system, that autonomic nervous system is like a radar. It can literally, the body, not the brain, is sensing from it whether this child is safe, feels safe or not. Not whether we tell the child you are safe, but whether that child is actually safe. And if that platform is disturbed, I like this picture very much because it works slightly different. No, it's actually the same than that picture of the brain where the traffic is going up and down. If the nervous system is stuck here at the bottom or in the middle, the nervous system isn't feeling safe. And if you think back about the traffic going up between the brain and the body, it literally gets stuck there at the brain, the primitive area, the brain stem area. And then the cognitive processing is really not opening up to learning. So again, that upper skills in the pyramid of learning is then the traffic is not going through. So of course, in therapy, some of our work is a lot around balancing the nervous system that's constantly looking for what we call homeostasis or balance. And it's never optimal continuously, but as long as it can come back to a platform of feeling safe, the brain will be functioning optimally. What you often see in the class then, we get so many referrals from teachers where social emotional functioning is impacted and not optimal. And it has a lot to do with the traffic, with the platform, the nervous system is departing from. And here you can see that all early development, cognitive, motor, language, communication, and growth is influenced by social and emotional development through caregiver relationships. And this is, for example, where I respect teachers a lot. Because for us as therapists, although we work maybe with more complex children, we see them mostly one by one, where you've got 20 or 25 children in your class that you need to create that safe space for optimal development and learning to take place. So social emotional function is in essence like the end product saying that all systems are on board. Where the child came from this morning from home, they had a nutritious breakfast, it was a calm environment, or it was a very disruptive environment, everybody was in a rush. Now they arrive at school, they're suddenly in a big group. But if the social emotional development of the child can remain in some kind of a balance, you know the systems are operating in a coordinated manner. I like to call it the happy brain. And it's not totally the brain, it's actually more that autonomic nervous system that needs to be in a state of balance. There's another thing, and this, of course, I'm throwing in a little bit of occupational therapy as well. There's another thing that as occupational therapists we are very aware of, and I would like to invite you to make a little observation in your classroom, because we also speak about neurological thresholds, and what that means is each of us, each individual nervous system has a different threshold of when the nervous system fires. So when you have a low neurological threshold, it means a little information can activate your nervous system. And 20% of the human population, and even 100 species that were research was done on, they found that 20% is more sensitive with regards to registering information in their environment. So I would like to I'm always wondering, do you see it in the classroom? And those are usually the sensitive souls, they're shy, they're observers, they're not go-getting and getting involved. So again, even if the child is, to use the very old-fashioned word, normal, we have a variety, as you know, within that spectrum. The opposite of that, of course, are the children with high neurological thresholds, where those children need a lot of information. It can be loud, it can be noisy, children can run, and they can still sit and focus on their work, because their nervous system is just not firing as easily. So I want to come to this picture as well. Again, you work a lot with what is seen above the surface. This slide is specifically referring to play. And of course, in therapy, play is a big tool that we rely on. It has to be meaningful again to the child. But where you sit and you work with what is observed, we go underground and we look at what is the origin, where does this difficulty come from? But what does all of this mean? Because this tells us a little bit of where do we fit in, but what does it mean? And of course, here at Hope, we have the gift of working together as a team. I have been here now for 3.5 years, and I'm very happy to say and to see that we are really much more interactive with teachers, with doctors, with other therapists, because we all know very well that that teamwork is a gift, and that the important factor, of course, when we talk about teamwork is the communication and the collaboration, which is harder when you are like us, an outpatient setting. We're not connected to a school. I know there are schools where the therapists are actually on site. But I've also learned over the years, there's no right and no wrong way of doing it. It depends a lot where the child feels comfortable, where the parent feels comfortable, and then it's really our job to keep the communication open. So in the light of all of this, the systems theory, the top-down and the bottom-up approaches, I came across these beautiful explanations of where should we focus on. For example, this first one is about attention and focus. Who should work on what? And this explains quite a lot. You know, over here, there's a lot of underground work that needs to be done in terms of the neurological system, reflex integration, the motor system, the sensory processing system, maybe less with communication, but a lot up here with attention work, with life management. We're doing this and now we're going to do that. So again here, actually all of these slides refer a lot to where the collaboration is needed. But you can see the emphasis is actually more on the top than on the bottom of the pyramid in this case. And then when we look at emotional and behavioral registration, here we look a lot at reflex integration, again, the sensory processing, but specific areas also. And I don't want to go into all of those details. We can rather at the end see, you know, where the questions are. But we focus on specific areas of the sensory system. And again, we're going to work on the attention. We are going to work on the management of life skills and of socialization. The next one is talking about dyslexia. Here you can see the emphasis has shifted more to the bottom. We need to work a lot in what we would call crossing of midline, bilateral use of the body. Again, sensory organization, especially of movement, of tactile, of where's my body in space. So the emphasis here has moved down a bit more. And with dyspraxia, it is really a lot about the sensory processing. Dyspraxia are those children who you can see they are really bright, but they can just not put the letters, the numbers down on a paper, or they can't do an obstacle course when you play outside. The next one, handwriting development. We're going to work a lot again on the body, on the awareness of the body, on the skills development of the body, and maybe less of other factors. Socialization is always one that really spreads out all areas of development. And where we know our teamwork needs to be so much more interconnected, and also how we connect with the family. Learning difficulties, which can include many things, inclusive also of limitations in cognitive development. Again, there's quite a comprehensive team that needs to be involved. Speech development, very specific. Again, the areas that's going to be focused on is not only the speech or the formation of the words, but also the concept of the body, the motor planning on a gross motor level, because it will influence how the child is able to formulate speech. Yeah, and I think that's the biggest part of what I wanted to say. Of course, there are other methods, and I'm sure you guys are all very familiar with things like, the interaction between the teachers and the children, together with, I think we are very privileged. I'm just going to stop the presentation. I think we're very privileged in Dubai to have all of the inclusion. I think it makes your jobs quite complex. But we've got the advantage of that and the advantage of shadow teachers. So the therapist therefore can make suggestions, and of course we know basically everything is on a spectrum, whether it's where the child is seated in the class, whether there's a visual impairment, whether there's a mobility difficulty, where there's an impulsivity, whether the child needs to take sensory breaks. And the essence, like I said, about having communication with the educational system, with ABA therapists, we also have here at Hope, but sometimes we work with external ABA therapists. And then, of course, a school visit. It is quite important for us to observe the child within that setting, so that we can also bring that back into our therapy sessions to say we need to do maybe things slightly differently, and therefore we can also make better recommendations to whatever happens within the classroom or assist. And of course, the parents, I think we all are equally aware of how important the role of the parents are. I was a much younger therapist when I learned the concept of the therapists are merely the facilitator of a process. We look at the system, we understand the system, where are the weaknesses, where do we need to shift, but the parent is the expert. They know that child better than we will know that child. But then the child is also the teacher. It teaches us, especially in therapy, because our job is to push that traffic and to push the nervous system. But the child also teaches us how much and how far that pushing can take place. And that collaborative communication between teachers and parents and therapists remains central to the benefit of the child. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I can't hear you. You are.
I'm on mute. My apologies. This was really informative. Thank you so much. So much to absorb and process. I would love to share the infographics if possible. If you could send me those, I'll send them out in our email that will go out probably tomorrow or the day after.
I can do.
We'll post the recording tomorrow. Once I download and edit it, we'll post it on LinkedIn or on YouTube. And thank you so much. We're getting loads of really wonderful feedback. We had over 40 people joining today, so that's awesome. And I'm really looking forward to next month. And if anyone needs any support for their schools, please do reach out to Judi. I'll include all of the contact details for Hope in the mail tomorrow once it goes out to we've over 3,000 on our mailing list now. So it's a really good reach. Okay, thank you everyone. Have a lovely afternoon. Ramadan Kareem, and we will see you all next month. Ma salama.
Ma salama.